and this is Scoutadelic. As it's Friday, and we're doing Scout Doors, things you can do both inside and also out back at your hall, today is First Aid Friday. Let's talk about burns. Now, the most likely cause of a burn that you're likely to get at home or on camp or on a hike is from cooking. Fortunately, dealing with minor burns, the kind you get from briefly touching something hot or a little bit of hot water splashed or even a slight steam burn is pretty straightforward. Apply cold.
If you've got running water available, that's your best bet. But a tub of water or a soaking wet cloth does in a pinch. After all, on camp, you can't just run the faucet. Keep the water on the burn until it doesn't feel hot anymore, then cover it with a sterile dressing. This will probably take a few minutes under the tap. My usual measure is, if I can't take how cold the water feels in the burned area, I'm almost done.
Now, you can tell a superficial burn pretty easily from the color and the condition of the skin. The skin will be pinky red, a bit swollen, but there won't be any blisters. If the burn goes a bit deeper into what's called a partial thickness burn, the skin will be deeper red and there will probably be some blisters. The procedure for this is mostly the same. Apply cold water and dress carefully, but don't break the blisters. And don't use self-adhesive bandages. They could end up breaking the blisters on you. You'll probably want to use a bigger sterile dressing and some first aid tape to keep it in place. But what happens if it's a bigger burn than just touching a hot oven rack briefly with your thumb? Maybe you wrapped your whole hand around a hot pan handle, or maybe another scout got too close to the campfire and the blanket caught. In that case, after you've done the whole stop, drop, and roll process, it's still not that different. Cool the burn and dress it. If, God forbid, there are clothes stuck to the burn, you just cut away that part of the clothing and leave it stuck for the professionals to deal with. First aid isn't meant to take the place of qualified medical care, but to provide immediate help to an injured person. Now, as the saying goes, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So how can we prevent burns while we're cooking? Let's look at what might happen that could lead to burns. My stove has electric burners, so while I might not need to worry about my neckerchief dangling over a high flame, these can still get pretty hot. So if you've got something dangling, either remove it or put on an apron. If you've got long sleeves or loose sleeves, roll them up the same way you pull your campfire blanket back while you're roasting s'mores. Another great reason to put on an apron is to protect your clothing from splashing. I don't want to get my uniform dirty with cooking spills anyway, but this way, if I do get hit with a hot liquid, then I can just rip the apron off in a hurry and not have something hot against my skin. Next thing to do to prevent burns is to keep your pot handles away from the front of the stove. Turn them off to the side. You can reach them, but they're still out of the way of curious cats or small children who might accidentally pull on them. If you need to reach past or over something steaming, either to adjust the dials like I have on my stove or to unplug a kettle, see if you can't put a lid on and move it out of the way first. And anytime you're touching something hot, make sure your hands are properly protected. I've burned myself a couple of times putting a pan in a preheated oven without oven mitts on, and my metal-handled pots and pans, particularly my cast iron, do get pretty warm. Even if the handle isn't burning hot, it can still be hot enough to surprise you and lead to you dropping it and getting splashed with something even hotter. Lastly, keep an eye on the stove the same way you would the campfire the whole time you're cooking. Make sure you've got everything in place before you start, and if you do need to leave the kitchen for some reason, turn the burners off before you go, or ask someone to take over. First aid is an important scouting skill, as much as tying knots and putting up tents. After all, our motto is be prepared, and learning first aid is being prepared to help when help is needed. If you want more detailed information, reach out to your local Red Cross or St. John Ambulance. Both organizations offer training and might be able to hook up your meetings with a brief session in a specific first aid skill. If you like Scoutadelic and you want to help Mike keep making great scouting videos like this, then hop on over to patreon.com/Scoutadelic and consider supporting this great channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and as always, be a little Scoutadelic. Bye!